First things first, we're going to deal with the elephant in the room. This is the design of the cross member in this truck, and that directly splits the exhaust pipe for coming out straight. Now this side is designed a little different. You have plenty of room to run exhaust down this frame rail, but on this side we have a decision to make. Underneath it, or up and over, and then match the height of this pipe coming around through here, and then cherry bombs in the whole 9 yards. So I'm not going underneath that cross member. I'm going up and over. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the collectors on both sides, and I'll be able to run straight pipe from that one all the way out to the back. This one, we're going to have to build basically an elbow up and over, and then about right here, a little loop over top, and about right here. Here I got a bunch of cutouts, corners, and bends. I've got pieces of pipe. I got my cherry bombs, which we're going to clean up and use. Now I have two options here. I have 2.5-inch pipes, or I have 2-inch pipes, and I've got a whole slew of 2-inch pipes. This is going to be put in storage outside for bits and pieces, because there's no reason for me to put 2.5-inch exhaust on that truck. That truck originally came with a Y pipe with 2-inch exhaust that ran to the back to a muffler, and then out the end on the far end. That's the way it came factory. Well, in some years with the catalytic converter. So going from one 2-inch pipe to two 2-inch pipe independently, that's where we're going to go. I've got a box full of bits and pieces, straight pieces, angle cuts, little jaunts here and there, end piece, corners, and I got lots of corners I can work with. I got lots of corners I can cut out of this and work with to just basically make an up and over, and then go from there out. So let's do some cutting. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is the collectors. What we're doing with collectors. We're putting 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock marks on all these tubes, and we're going to do this on all the tubes once we cut them, because that's the easy way to get a reference mark when you're matching two pieces up. So you can, when you're connecting them, you can match mark to mark, and you can keep an orientation of up and over instead of over to the side and around and that sort of thing. You can keep straight. It's just a little visual reference that helps out a whole bunch. So if you're going to do this, consider doing that. Okay, I've cleaned them up a little bit, and this is basically where we're going to go with this. These two are actually pretty good right now, but they're going to be coming from the collector header collector here, up and over, and then we'll have to trim this one up because you can see that the gap's pretty bad. And then this one, actually, because this has the nice round end, we're probably going to cut this off, up and over and together, and then I'll probably trim this off about right. I'm eyeballing this just in my head. I'll have to fix this. That one's pretty good. I'll have to do some trimming on this and some trimming on this one to get it up against this flange header. So how do you straighten this out and get that straight? Funny you should ask, Daniel-san. The tape will set you free. This is how. Just using simple tape will give you your straight line. You just let the tape follow itself. It'll bring it around. It'll give you your line. If you got any eyeball at all, you can see how that, with that line, that tape follows the line of the pipe. And there's your pieces you need to cut off. It's just that simple. It works really well. And if you even take it over here to the table and you kind of eyeball it with the piece, Kind of looks kind of even, doesn't it? Cut that piece off, and it looks like they'll match up pretty good, doesn't it? It really does work. I mean, you wouldn't think something that simple would work, but it does. I'm just going to get the grinder out. I'm going to grind that down because I could cut off wheel it, but it's just as quick with a grinding wheel and a grinding disc, not a flapper pad, but a grinding disc, and just grinding this off. Yeah, the reason I'm not doing this with a cutoff wheel is because I don't have a cutoff wheel. I don't have a bandsaw. This is what I have. I have hand tools and a vise, and most of you guys out there don't have a cutoff wheel. Most of you guys out there don't have a bandsaw, and that's the whole thing. I'm building this truck with tools I have in the garage with my hands. Okay, and final finished product, and that was just a quick 3 or 4 minutes. I used the taped it around. So now we got good gappage here. We got good gappage here, line up. It's, the pipe is a little bit different size, but she's pretty close. So when I get her in there, she'll line up. And then now this one is the same process. I use the tape on it. It'll line up, and then I'll find out where I want to cut it here to match here. And I still got to do it with this end too, because this end is it's a little bit off. Okay, so as a matter of fact, that end needs to be a little bit this way because that's the way the header flange is hitting. It's not hitting it perfectly square, but the header flange is actually sitting down a little bit, probably about a 3 or 4 degree angle. Both the headers are, so it's actually going to have a little bit of I could cut this off, but actually I will cut this off flat, straight. I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to cut here with the tape and get this straightened out. And then, okay, so I've got this piece tacked, and this piece tacked. Now, the thing is that these two are a little bit bigger than these two. Not much, but there's a little bit. You can tell there's a little bit of a flange difference, not much in the bendage. And this one right here is spot on same, okay? So I've got all the cutting and grinding done, and I've got, as you can see, it's got a little bit of gappage down there. So how do you get that even, make that even? Well, what I did with this one, it's really simple. Just a washer. And I stuck it up underneath it, and it gets the right, it made this flat, where this is the right height, and I held it and made the first tack. And that's what we'll do on this one too. We got a washer, and we want it the same as all of it. So we'll take a washer here and a washer here and hold it, and I'll get a tack, and then it'll be laser straight. Have one here to make it even, put tack in it, flip it over, put some more tacks on it, and we're done. Okay, another case of using what you got. Now these are glass packs, 18 inches, cherry bombs, and this bar was, see how bent this is? This one was worse than that. And so now this one, down the line of that cherry bomb, is dead on and really straight like that. Okay, now whoever hacked this thing up together. So all I did, I knew that I needed to leave metal on this side so I could bend it around, on this side so I could bend it around. Okay, so I left a little tab on it, and I basically just bent it around to where I need it. And we're just going to daub this. We're going to grind this up, clean this up, and we're going to put a tack to hold it, check it, and then we're going to use this whole piece, and then we're going to basically lop this off. We're going to do turnouts, but we're going to do the same thing on that one. So we got everything tacked up over there. Little trick, when you got one extension cord and you got two pieces you're doing, use a splitter. Little helpful trick, but use a heavy duty splitter. Don't use some homemade piece of shit. Use a good splitter and just run one at a time, and then you're good to go. Hey, since you're here and you're watching, like, share, and subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell. Okay, so I got this tacked together, and I basically want to put this right here, up and over, and I want to get this even. I want to get enough space in between here. I want to get enough space in between here so that it's not going to rub, but it's also not going to hit the floorboard, okay? So my plan is to make it even about right here. Just like that. There's plenty of room for all that to not move. And I got some space here. And actually, what would be better, I'm using my yellow marks just to make sure that we're straight. And if that is where I want it, then that basically is straight. Yep. Straight up and down. So we're right here where we want it. And then this comes out right here, and I still have to straighten this out. This is still a little bit cattywampus, but that will probably work. Flange is a little bit off, which we'll have to deal with, but we'll have to just weld that in. So I want to line up my lines, make sure I'm lined up, which I am, and that is basically where I want to go. Grind on this some more, or do I want to just tack it in place and weld it up? I can grind on this or use the vise on this and pinch this, and it would slip right in the hole. That's what we're going to do. All right, this is what we ended up with. All I did was took a little bit of grinding on that one edge, and I took a hammer to it and just kind of like rounded it a little bit more. So it slid right in the collector, so it's good tackage there. She's sitting out here pretty even height-wise. So from here to the ground and there to the ground is pretty even. So that's pretty much what and I still got my pipe up in there as my spacage. So let's tack it. Okay, Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, I mean, and I've got this part done. What I decided to do is that about this, I'm going to cut about 1.5 inches off the end of this. This is the passenger side, right? And basically, that's what I ended up with. Okay, so that is a cut off of another piece that's over there. But I got this. This is for I got the straight run, which I'm going to cut another 1.5 inches off of it. I've got this re-welded up and straightened. I've got this welded. And then this is going to be my hanger. But the problem is that the actual hangers that I have are not going to be long enough to hang from. We're going to have to go from the cab mount bracket on the back to here. And so I'm going to have to think up something, get in the pile, and probably weld something on the end of this, or make something up my own to bolt onto both of those cab mount plates on the frame so that I can get this hung. But that's basically what we're going to do. And that turnout, this length right here, is basically pointing at the back end of right at the tire. So doing a little burnout, it's going to blow the smoke away from the truck, and it's going to sound really, really good. Now it's still going to be tucked underneath the truck inside the frame, but that's the way I like it. So let's continue. Oh, and another thing, I did let this cool overnight, and it still fits like a charm. But I did just throw some extra little high temp, some old can of high temp paint I had on the shelf, and letting that dry right now. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side here. On the back of that one, I've got the other piece already cut and run it up, but we're going to have to cut this one way off because I'm only going to use, because of that, John, I'm only going to use about this much of the other one, of that one. So we're going to have to measure it up, cut it, and we'll go from there. And then what this is this is a spacer for the header collector for the pipe. So that pipe will fit in between inside that, but the outside of this fits inside this. So it's basically just a spacer. So I'm going to put this inside the collector on the passenger side, and then slip that inside this, and then weld them both as because I don't have a tubing flare. I don't have a tubing spacer. I don't have any way of making that wider to fit the collector. So we're going to improvise. So this is just a piece of pipe that I cut, that this one fits inside just like that. This one fits inside just like that. And then it fits just inside the collector. So you make do with what you got. All right. There we go. Hanging on her own. That's right. Okay. That's pretty good. Now the trick is these. The jack stands. Now they're set at the same height. Okay, so the mufflers, the cherry bombs will be at the same height. Okay. All right, so basically we're gonna have to shorten this quite a bit to get that to fit, and we're gonna have to eyeball this a lot. It's just a matter of playing with it and kind of guesstimating eyeball. Now this is probably not going to be the last time I'm up underneath here doing this. So that's going to be about where I want it. I'm just eyeballing from the connection point for the hanger for the connection here. And I'm going to about right here. That's going to be pretty close. Okay, now what the deal with this is, guys, is that once I lock this in, the other side's got to match. So I want to make sure I got enough stroke to connect to my hanger point with this on the pipe and then be able to match the other side to it. And that's why it'll be hanging the same, spaced the same, or as close as I can get it. All right, so, but that's what this will do because they're both the same height. And so, okay, I got my mark where I want this. All right, I'm going to slide that out because we're going to have to cut that. And then this is going on top of the spacer. And then this is going in here, right, just like this. Okay, since we know it's the same height, these are the same height. Okay, then we're going to get close. We're going to have to eyeball this too. And that's actually pretty good right there compared to the same. I'm kind of looking at the same, my connection point for my hanger. For my hanger on the back, what we'll end up doing is this. Just like that where we want it. Again, this is all just, we're going to try it and try it and try it. And it's all going to be about the same. Kind of like that. Boom. Okay, so here's the whole skippy of the whole deal. Is that once you lock one in, you got to make the other one match. Whatever you got to do, you got to make the other one match so it's, uniform. And so, but she's plugged in there. She's sitting at right height, and the down tube is exactly where I want her. Just pointing at that tire. That's perfect. And then I got enough space here, so I'm gonna get the welder on. I'm gonna tack that in place to hold that in place, and then we're gonna put the other one up here and make it look exactly the same. And then once it's tacked, take it all back off again, lengthen the hanger, and weld everything up. All right, so she's pretty long right in there in that hole. So I'm actually gonna mark this inside here. This she'll be a little bit long, but that's where I gotta cut it here. There's my mark. Okay. And because right now she's shoved way up inside there, and it's not letting it wiggle. So we'll cut that off. I'm going to cut this one off, and we'll work from there. And extended. I got this one ready to go. She's all welded up. I got this one ready to go. She's all welded up. Now it's just a matter of hanging. Don't forget to put your connection flange on before you weld it up. Okay, and to add to this, what I'm using for isolators for my deals, I actually just have an old, this is like a $5 kit from Harbor Freight. This is an old one of old, just rubber grommets. And look how nice that fit in there. And just throw in a little extra, we'll take another rubber grubbing on top of it like that on the bolt. That's going to bolt to the frame tab. Okay. This is kind of where we're sitting. Now I've got it up where the height where I want it, okay? And she's even with the frame this way, and she's plugged in down on that side, but the hanger bars that I have are a little bit too short. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to make these a little bit longer, and to get to this bolt right here on this hanger, looks like I'm sitting right at 2.5 inches, which means I need to make this hanger 3 inches long. I'm pretty much guarantee I'm going to do it both on the same side, so I have to make these unisex exactly the same. So we'll find a piece on the end. We'll add 3 inches to this and drill a hole at 2.5 inches, and then we should be good. Okay, got my brackets drying. I got them welded up. Yep, she's finished and she's all tied up. Hangers are done. All the welding is done. They're buttoned up. They're bolted up. And the welds are a little ugly, but they're not leaking. There is no leaks. And I got rid of all you guys know, in old days, the old muffler shops, they'd run a big loop underneath that cross member. Well, I didn't. I went up and over. It's tucked up tight, as you can tell. Tucked up tight inside that frame, so that if I decide to lower this truck, then they ain't gonna drag. We ain't gonna have a drag problem with the front piece. Everything is nice and tight. And I will say, going around that corner, up and over, that was a pain in the ass, parting that together. And I did have to modify a little bit, but she is together. She's even. And the pipes point exactly like I wanted, right at the back tire. So if we decide to do a little burnout, that smoke is going to get blowed right out of the fenders and make a nice big cloud. That's much better. You betcha. I don't know if the sound's going to turn out, but that's so much better. And she's pointed exactly where I want her to point to. So if you're still here, like, share, subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell, tell your friends. If you have any questions about how I did, what I did, or if you want to talk shit about my welds, go right ahead. But all I know is they're not leaking. Okay, so that's how you can build your own exhaust system without spending hundreds of dollars. This cost me $0. Well, okay, it cost me a little bit of paint and a little bit of welding wire. That's it. That's the only expenses on this. Everything was used parts. Everything was clean, painted, buffed, welded. You know, it can be done. You can build, and it sounds great. All right, so you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. All right, so if you're still here, like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to see more stuff like this, there's going to be a playlist down below down here.